I received a message last month from a man named John. He is 74 years old. He lives alone in a house he built with his own hands. For the last 3 years, he spent every weekend in his workshop, building furniture for his grandchildren. A rocking chair for the oldest, a bookshelf shaped like a tree for the middle one, a small desk for the youngest, with her initials carved into the corner. Last Christmas, all 3 pieces were returned, left on his porch. No note, no call. His son had changed the locks on his phone, blocked his number, deleted him from every family group chat. John has not seen his grandchildren in 14 months. He wrote to us, "I do not know what I did wrong. I have replayed every conversation, every holiday, every phone call, and I still cannot find the moment I lost them." If you are over 60 and that sentence made something tighten in your chest, you are not alone. A Cornell University study found that 27% of American adults are currently estranged from at least one family member. A Time investigation published in late 2024 put the number even higher. 1 in 2 adults estranged from a close relative. This is not a rare wound. It is an epidemic that no one talks about at the dinner table. But this video is not about blame. It is not about whose fault it is, and it is not about getting your children back. This video is about one phrase, 3 words, that changes everything. Not because it fixes the relationship, but because it frees you from the war inside your own mind. We are going to walk through why your adult children blame you, and why it may have nothing to do with what you actually did. We will look at what guilt does to your brain and your body after 60. And then I will give you that phrase and explain why it works, not as a parenting trick, but as a neurological reset. Stay with me. This might be the most important 18 minutes you spend this year. Let me start with something that will feel unfair, and I need you to sit with it before you react. Professor Lee once said something that stopped me cold. She said, "Parents are the variable, not the children." That sounds like blame. It sounds like she is saying everything is your fault. But that is not what she means. She means that when a relationship between a parent and an adult child breaks down, the parent is the one with the power to change the dynamic. Because the parent is the one who has been in the relationship longer, who set the original tone, who modeled what love looked like before the child had any words for it. This does not mean you did something terrible. It means you are the one who can move first. Now, why do adult children push away? Why do they blame, distance, accuse, go silent? The psychologist Carl Jung spent decades studying something he called individuation. It is the process by which a person becomes fully themselves, separate from the identity their family gave them. Jung argued that this is not rebellion. It is a biological and psychological necessity. A child who never separates from their parents never becomes whole. And here is the part no one tells you. Individuation often looks like rejection. It looks like your daughter saying, "You never listen to me." It looks like your son saying, "I need space." It looks like silence. Weeks, months, sometimes years of silence. Not because they hate you, but because they are trying to figure out who they are without your voice in their head. The pain you feel is real, but the story you are telling yourself about what it means may not be. There is a concept in psychology called the intergenerational stake hypothesis. It was first proposed by Bengtson and Kuipers in 1971 and has been studied for over 50 years since. The research, including a major study of 633 adults, and over 2,000 parent-child relationships consistently shows the same pattern. Parents rate the quality of the relationship significantly higher than their children do. In other words, you and your child are watching the same movie, but you are seeing completely different films. You remember the camping trips, the birthday parties, the sacrifices you made. Your child remembers the tone of voice you used when they brought home a bad grade. You remember working overtime to pay for their education. They remember eating dinner alone. Neither version is a lie. Both are real. But the gap between those two versions, that gap is where all the pain lives. And most parents, when they discover this gap, do one of two things. They defend, but I did everything for you. Or they collapse. I must have been a terrible parent. Both responses push the child further away, because both responses are still about you. If this is resonating with something you have been carrying, consider subscribing. We explore the science behind aging, family, and the conversations no one else is having. Let me tell you about Lorraine. She is 71. She raised 4 children alone after her husband left when the youngest was 3. She worked 2 jobs for 15 years. She never missed a school concert. She never took a vacation. 2 of her children speak to her regularly. One calls once a year on her birthday and keeps it under 4 minutes. The 4th, her eldest daughter, has not spoken to her in 6 years. Lorraine went to see her doctor last year for chest pains. The doctor ran tests. Her heart was fine. He asked her a standard screening question. Is there anyone in your life who can help you if you need it? She paused, and then she said, God. That word, that single answer, tells you everything about what chronic guilt and estrangement do to a person. They isolate. They shrink the world. They make a woman who raised 4 children alone feel like the only person who can help her does not have a phone number. Here is what the science says about guilt in aging adults. When you criticize yourself, when you replay old conversations, when you lie awake wondering what you should have said differently, your brain activates what psychologist Kristen Neff calls the threat defense system. The same system that would fire if a predator walked into the room. Your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline. Your muscles tighten. Your immune system suppresses. Your sleep architecture fragments. This is not metaphor. This is measurable biology. And when this cycle repeats day after day, month after month, year after year, the damage accumulates. A study published in PNAS in February 2026 tracked over 2,300 adults and found that having even one toxic or deeply stressful relationship in your life accelerated biological aging by an average of 9 months. Each additional stressor added another 1.5% to the rate of aging. Toxic family ties had a stronger effect than toxic friendships, or even toxic marriages. Your guilt is aging you, not figuratively, literally. Now, self-compassion is not a soft concept. It is a neurological switch. When you treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend, when you replace "I failed" with "I did what I could with what I knew," your brain activates a completely different system. Neff calls it the mammalian caregiving system. It releases oxytocin instead of cortisol. It calms the nervous system. It opens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for perspective, problem-solving, and connection. The opposite of guilt is not innocence. It is compassion. And compassion does not mean you did nothing wrong. It means you stop punishing yourself for being human. Lorraine did not need to be forgiven by her daughter. She needed to stop sentencing herself every morning before she opened her eyes. So here it is, the phrase, 3 words, no defense, no explanation, no counterattack. I hear you, not I understand, because sometimes you do not understand, not I am sorry, because sometimes you are not sure what you are apologizing for, not but I tried my best. Because that sentence, no matter how true it is, moves the conversation back to you. I hear you. That is it. A neuroscience study conducted at UCLA by Matthew Lieberman and his team found that when a person feels heard, when their emotional experience is acknowledged in words, the brain's amygdala, the alarm center that triggers fear, anger, and defensiveness, significantly reduces its activity. The emotional charge drops, the body begins to relax, the prefrontal cortex comes back online. Lieberman's term for this is affect labeling. When someone names what they feel and the other person simply receives it, not fixes it, not argues with it, not reframes it, the nervous system recognizes safety. The fight-or-flight response begins to wind down. I hear you works because it requires nothing from you except presence. You do not have to agree with what your child is saying. You do not have to accept their version of the past. You do not have to change your memory of what happened. You just have to stop defending for one sentence, for one breath. Professor Lee, I mentioned earlier, has a term that translates roughly to the 3 don'ts, the 3 phrases aging parents must stop saying to their adult children. Do not say, why don't you call? Do not say, why don't you visit? Do not say, you never say thank you. She argues that each of these sentences, however natural they feel, carries an invisible accusation. They communicate, you are failing me. You are ungrateful. You owe me. And when a child hears that, what do they hear? Not a lonely parent who misses them. They hear a scorecard. They hear a debt they can never repay. I hear you replaces all 3. It replaces the accusation with acknowledgement. It replaces the demand with presence. I want to be clear. This phrase will not fix a broken relationship overnight. Some estrangements are too deep. Some children have made a decision and they are not coming back. This video is not here to give you false hope, but this phrase will fix something else. It will fix the war inside your own chest. Because every time you defend yourself in your own mind, every time you replay the argument and win it in your imagination, you are keeping the wound open. I hear you is how you begin to close it, not toward your child, toward yourself. Millicent, a woman who wrote to us from Florida, said it best. She said, I spent 4 years trying to explain myself. Then one day I stopped. I did not forgive my son. I did not understand him. I just said to myself, in my own kitchen, out loud, I hear you. And something in me went quiet for the first time. If someone you love is over 60 and carrying this kind of weight, send them this video, not as a warning, as a gift. Saying I hear you once is a beginning, but the habits that built this wall took decades. Taking it down requires new patterns, small ones, repeated daily. I want to walk through 5 of them, not as rules, as invitations. The first one comes from Professor Lee. Stop calling to check, call to connect. She says the phone call between a parent and an adult child should feel like the early days of dating, light, warm, curious, not interrogation, not guilt, not silence, followed by a sigh. twice a week. Keep it short. Keep it bright. Ask about their day, not about why they have not called. If they do not pick up, leave a voice message that makes them smile, not one that makes them feel guilty for missing it. The tone of your voice is the message, not the words. The second, respect their privacy as if they were a neighbor, not your child. Do not ask for their passwords. Do not show up unannounced. Call before you visit. This sounds cold. It is not. It is the foundation of adult respect. Professor Lee says something that sounds harsh but is deeply kind. Clingy relationships stagnate. Space creates longing. If you are always available, always hovering, always checking, you are not giving love. You are giving surveillance. And surveillance does not create closeness. It creates escape. The third, if you are caring for grandchildren, treat it like a job. Set hours. Set boundaries. Set an end date. Many grandparents, especially grandmothers, pour everything into grandchild care and then feel betrayed when the arrangement shifts or ends. A grandchild care arrangement without a clear contract is not generosity. It is a setup for resentment. The fourth, build something that is yours, not for your children, not for your grandchildren, for you, a class, a walk, a group, a garden. Professor Lee's research points to a truth that sounds obvious but is astonishingly rare in practice. Parents who have their own identity, their own joy, their own reason to wake up in the morning are more pleasant to be around. And children are drawn to parents who are interesting, not parents who are waiting. The fifth, and this one matters, stop trying to be understood. A commenter on one of our previous videos, writing from Canada, said this: "For 25 years, I was the person everyone in my community came to for wisdom. But at home I am annoying, old, clueless." He added something that has stayed with me. Even a criminal knows what he is accused of. I do not. That sentence captures the deepest wound of estrangement, not the rejection itself, but the absence of explanation, the ghost trial, the verdict without a hearing. And the instinct, when you do not know what you are accused of, is to demand an answer, to explain, to defend, to build a case. Do not do that. You will lose every time, not because you are wrong, but because the courtroom does not exist. Your child is not a judge. They are a person in pain, and their pain may not have a clear origin, a single event, a specific sentence you said in 2003. It may be cumulative. It may be atmospheric. It may be about something you did not do rather than something you did. I hear you applies here too. You can hear the silence. You can acknowledge the gap. You can stop demanding a verdict that is never going to come. There is one more thing I want to give you before we end. A practice. Something you can do tonight. The psychologist James Pennebaker at the University of Texas has studied a technique called expressive writing for over 40 years. In his original 1986 study, he asked participants to write about their deepest emotional pain for just 15 minutes a day, 4 days in a row. No structure, no rules, no audience, just writing. The results were remarkable. In the 6 months following the exercise, participants who wrote about trauma visited the doctor 50% less than the control group. Their immune function improved. Their sleep stabilized. Their anxiety dropped. 50% fewer doctor visits from writing. Here is what I want you to do. Tonight, before you go to sleep, take a piece of paper and write a letter to your child. The one who is not speaking to you. The one who blamed you. The one who left. Write everything. Write what you wish you could say. Write what you are sorry for. Write what you are not sorry for. Write what you miss. Write what you are angry about. Write the question you have never been able to ask. And then do not send it. This is not a letter for them. This is a letter for you. The act of writing externalizes pain. It takes the loop, the one that plays at 3 a.m, the one that starts with, "What if I had?" and ends with, "Why didn't they?" And it moves it from your nervous system onto the page. It gives shape to something that has been shapeless, and once it has a shape, it begins to lose its power. If your child has ghosted you, if there is no address to send a letter to, no phone that will ring, no door that will open, this exercise matters even more, because the letter was never about reaching them. It was about reaching yourself. You can write 1 letter. You can write 10. Some people write 1 every week. The point is not to produce a document. The point is to let the pressure out, slowly, safely, in a place where no one is watching and no one is keeping score. Jung once wrote that the most terrifying thing a person can do is to fully accept themselves. Not the version of themselves they wish they had been. Not the parent they planned to be, but the one they actually were, with all the mistakes, all the blind spots, all the love that came out wrong. That acceptance is not defeat. It is the doorway to the only kind of peace that lasts. If you have watched this far, you are not here by accident. You are here because something in you is ready to change. Subscribe, share. Come back next week. I want to end with John, the man who built the furniture. After he wrote to us, we did not reply with advice. We did not tell him what to do. We asked him one question: "What did you build today?" He wrote back 3 weeks later. He said, "I stopped building for them. I built a bookshelf for myself. It is in my living room, next to the window. I filled it with books I have been meaning to read for 30 years. He said, "I still do not understand what happened. I still miss them every day, but I am not waiting anymore. I am reading." That is not giving up. That is the most radical act of self-compassion I have ever heard from a 74-year-old man with sawdust under his nails and a hole in his chest where his grandchildren used to be. You did not fail because your child is angry. You did not fail because they left. You failed only if you forgot that you too deserve to be heard. And if no one else will say it to you, let me say it now. I hear you. The goal was never to be forgiven. The goal was to forgive yourself.